Ladies and gentlemen, with the Rift update set to come out in early 2023, some parts of it seem to be leaking through to our reality. My name is Derailious and welcome back to Skyblock News. Let's launch right into it. Starting off here today, we have to go to Cat, and the reason is because we need to upgrade the Tarantula pet. As you can see, if I put a legendary Tarantula inside Cat, you can see that you have to upgrade it with a fake neuroscience degree and 952,000 coins. Now, this item is set to be released with the Rift update. It was part of the API leak that happened a while ago. So I want to go over a little bit more of what's in that API leak and some other things that we can gather from this update. As you can see on screen now, we have all of the items added with the Shen's auction update, which includes many of the Rift items. I'm not going to go over every item here because many I already have gone over, but there are a few here that give us a lot of information about how the Rift is going to work. Starting off with the obvious, we have Rift Time. This was covered in the previous video, but I will rehash it here. Rift Time kind of states that the Rift is not something that you can just go into and stay in forever. You're going to get kicked out eventually. It has a timer on it, kind of similar to how the Crystal Hollow works, although obviously the timer here is probably going to be a lot more severe, likely in the few minutes range. Many of the items here have a Rift Time component, sometimes going up to 180. I believe that is in seconds, not minutes. On top of this, there is a Rift damage effect. Rift damage is likely going to mean that your damage outside of the Rift is not going to apply inside. For example, if you have a sword with 500 damage, it's likely going to do nothing. You're going to need stuff that gives you Rift damage to increase it. Scrolling down a little bit, we do have a few things I want to go over. Notably, the Argophage trinket, which I will get into in a minute, but Argophages are essentially going to be a new NPC animal thing that you can interact with and get a trinket out of. This gives you some Rift intelligence. On top of this, there's a defective monitor, obtained from a Clune that doesn't seem so stable. This is obviously a reference to Mini Clune, and it also gives you Rift intelligence and Rift time. On top of this, there's another accessory, the Hocus Pocus Cipher, which has something very important on it, Rift Transferable. What this makes me believe is that inside the Rift, you cannot take out some of the items. Essentially, if you get, for example, the defective monitor, that will only apply inside the Rift if you get it inside the Rift. I don't think this one is something that you get inside the Rift, though. I think it's something you get outside. But for the Hocus Pocus Cipher, that makes me think that inside the Rift, you can find this item, and you can take it out. The same thing applies for the miniaturized tubulator. Once again, Rift transferable, and it gives you 1 health. Scrolling down further, we have another 2 accessories, the Test Bucket Please Ignore and the Tiny Dancer. Both of these items are also Rift transferable, and they give you true defense and critical damage respectively. Next, we have the Wild set of armor. As you can see, there's the Wild helmet on a helmet, the Wild chain top, the Wild leggings, and the Wild boots. All of these give you Rift time, but there's also a few other items, notably the backwards leggings and chestplate, the inspired chestplate, and Gunther sneakers. Scrolling up a little bit, we can also see the retro encabulating visor. Once again, this was an item shown off by Mini Clune, once again proving that Mini Clune is working pretty heavily on this update. Scrolling down to the final couple sections, we have wands. There's a wizard wand, a test rift wand, which gives you rift damage, a gateway wand, an aspect of a leech, which, by the way, leeches are pretty prominent in this update. There's also a lot of references to vermin, rats, and sort of a twisted dark world, and also the wand of warding, which is another new item. All of these wands are likely to improve your stats within the rift, although some of them don't technically have stats yet. On top of this, as we go to uncategorized, there's Bottled Inspiration, Bottled Odonata, which, by the way, there's also an empty Odonata bottle, which makes me think that that's kind of similar to the Thunder Bottle, a Cat Detector, which is ID'd as the Dead Cat Detector, and Hedgehog Spines, which the description states, contrary to popular belief, hedgehogs aren't rodents. They are, in fact, mangled wraith remnants of warriors who couldn't find true love. Really weird stuff here, but it is pretty interesting. Top of this, the Dark Pebble is able to be put in a museum, and it's rift transferable. As you can see, we can also see the fake neuroscience degree. This is the item that's going to allow you to increase the Tarantula pet from legendary to mythic rarity. There's an enchanted book bundle, the doubloon of the family, glass honey aerosol, which sells for motes, which seems to be a new sort of currency inside the rift, and the key to infested house soul. Once again, this was discussed in the previous video, but it has a moat sell price and it allows you to access Cat's house. Cat seems to be pretty relevant for this update, having a couple items related to her. obviously the neuroscience degree, but also the infested house soul. There's a few other items related to leeches, including a sword which gives you rift damage and mana refund, and also a bunch of other backwards items which sell for a certain amount of motes. On top of this, the lil pad says, can be placed on water, especially if you're scared of said water. This makes me think that there's going to be water within the rift, but not in the normal way. You probably can't cross it unless you have a block over it, meaning that something like the lil pad will make sense here. Scrolling down to the very bottom, we have a few elixirs, and the Rift Boat, which is built by Reed, who turns out to be a bit of a scammer, and the Rift Test Sword, which has 100 rift damage, a Shadow and Shy Crux, which, by the way, this is where I get the Argofae thing from. The description for the Shy Crux says, rumors are that Argofaes and other creatures really like this. The Shadow Crux says, trust no one, not even your own shadow, it's always acting shady. There's the Sword of Live Reloading, which I will just comment on by saying the word nice. The Spider Receptacle, which is plastic. The Turbomax Vacuum Cleaner, which is a weird item. The Very Scientific Paper. The Worm the Fish, and Zoop the Fish. Zoop the Fish, by the way, is rift transferable. On top of this, we have the 4 elixirs. Once again, all of them are rift elixirs. The Rift Stability Elixir makes me think that it's going to allow you to stay in the Rift longer. There's also Reinforced Multi-Shears, once again, kind of important here. The idea of the items being similar, but not exactly the same. Honestly, the Rift update looks to be one of the most major in Skyblock's history, and this is mostly unrelated to the other stuff with the Wizard Portal. There's a lot going on in this update, a lot of new NPCs, a lot of new things to do, a lot of new items to gather, and definitely a lot of ways to improve your character. At the end of the day though, my name is Derailious, thank you so much for watching this video till the end. Please make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you are new, and join my Discord down below for giveaways and updates, and look to the future fellas, because I will see you then.